I am live. Because I'm not sharing anything. There isn't a drop-down menu. You get, I get a pop-up menu, and it says, WebinarJam screen sharing wants you to share the contents of your screen. Choose what you would like to share. I can either share my entire screen or just an application window. And then you pick what you want to share. So I can either do, PDF or PowerPoint. Okay, PDF. Yeah, it's sharing right now. So now what I see on the WebinarJam is just that. I see the physical screen that's just being shared. Well, that's a problem. That is a problem. Yeah, it says that I'm live. And I got Carrie Kilpatrick. Oh, you know what? It shows you, I don't know if it's supposed to, but it shows you as the presenter. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Damn technology. I'm telling you. Now what do you see right now? Oh, hang on. Okay. Yeah, hang on. Okay, so now what do you have right now? Okay, hang on. And then can you see the slide move? Mm-hmm. So this is, remember, what WebinarJam is doing is it's asking for permission to basically, in essence, rebroadcast whatever is going on with your machine. So if I go to, and you're going to get tunnel effect and all that, so don't worry about it right now. So when I go to, I'm going to go back in here and do a screen share. And there's a lag just because of, so whether I pick PDF or I pick Microsoft PowerPoint. So I'm going to pick. So now all you're going to see is it's like you're sitting at my desk and you can see my application window. All right. Now, when I go to slideshow, all you still see right now is the application window, correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to page through a couple of slides. I go down. There's a new slide. Here's a new slide. Exactly it. Now, let's go to slideshow. So what's going to happen when I get two screens? I don't, excuse me, I won't have to record this in Google Slideshow or anything like that. It's truly however I set it up to record from is what we're going to be able to see. And the thing like PowerPoint, what it allows us to do is I can have the slideshow running on a completely separate screen, which would be the screen that I say, hey, WebinarJam, I want you to basically record this. And that's why, let's go back to where we began. So like, for instance, if I go back here, now you're going to get the tunnel effect to start, but that's okay because like you said, we get to edit, you know, it becomes more of a concern when we're truly doing it live. But when we do it live, you and I are going to be on it. We're going to get everything all set up before anybody else is going to see it. You know, geez, I can see forever. But now when I go to PowerPoint and I do a slideshow, the only thing that you're seeing right now or eventually going to be able to see is just the slide that's on my screen, because now it's broadcasting just what's on the screen. This is PowerPoint, and the option that I picked on, you know, what am I sharing? I'm sharing my entire screen. It's not the application, because the application, it's going to show you the application. Just like if I picked PDF and I picked application, what you're going to see is a slide within PDF. It's not going to be a slideshow. So this is how we would set it up right here. This would be our first slide, whatever. And then we'd wait and we would go live. Or like I said, I'm going to set up a recording. I'm going to get this. There's going to be a big pause. And then I'm going to start it. And because you're able to edit it all, you don't care if there's a tunnel effect at the start when I'm getting all the stuff set up. All you care about is, how can I see what you see? Now, the disadvantage, and again, this is something, you know me, I'm a checklist Nazi. These are the things that I harp on about. All right, let's make darn sure that we know exactly how we should be doing it, because what you see right now, which is what I see, is the slide does not fill the entire screen. You see the two black bars on the left and the right side, okay? Now, when you create a PowerPoint, just like anything that you create on your software, you have a choice of the screen ratio. So, you know, my monitor, my Dell monitor is like, you know, the widescreen TVs. But the presentation right now is set up with the old TVs where basically you had a square screen. The drawback to that is you can't take a presentation that's already been created and just automatically put it into a different resolution. Because what it does is it takes all your graphics and it stretches it, which is fine. You know, these are just things that, all right, as we're going through and thinking about, because I'm always, you know, my motivation for this is, you know, one, it has to be dummy proof, and two, you don't know what somebody else is going to be using. So we just need to define what are the things that they need to do to set it up, you know, because eventually you and I are going to be dead and gone. And hopefully this company just keeps on going. So you want to be able to hand the tool to somebody else and say, all right, it doesn't matter what you're working on. This is how it needs to be set up. Because now, as I progress through the slides, all you're seeing is my screen. Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. Yep. Nope. I get 100%. I mean, I truly understand so much better on how it's working and what it's trying to do now. You know, because I was so focused on the whole damn tunnel effect. I'm like, well, shit, that's not going to help. Everybody's going to see it. But that's just to set it up. You see the tunnel effect because what are you doing? You're rebroadcasting the broadcast. Well, now it's broadcasting what's being seen on the screen. And that's, you know, now I'm like, oh, I get it. Because one of my questions, and we're going to go back to the tunnel vision here, and I'm going to, so it, when I get it all set up and I share, I can't see anything but my screen. So I can't see the control panel for WebinarJam and stuff like that. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. But I don't, yeah. But me, I don't care. If I'm just recording, I really, really don't care. If that's correct. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I just use my enter button. That's it. Because all I'm doing is I'm going through my slideshow just like anything else. Hmm. That's correct. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Because again, I'm not, I don't need to interact through the control panel that's on the right hand side of the webinar screen. For me, that, I'm not answering questions. Even if we were doing it live, I mean, that's the beauty of this, of having a presenter and then have an administrator. The presenter is there to present. Okay. So I'm presenting, and say we do a pause and you say, "Oh, Scott, we have a question here from John." You're going to read the question. I'm going to answer it. I'm not going to change anything on my computer. I'm not going to try and go look at the control panel or nothing. That's not my responsibility. That's the administration's responsibility. Now, what's different is that, like, with a go-to meeting, when you do a share screen, theirs is just different, because inside of the go-to meeting panel, you're seeing your screen, but you can still see the control panel. But the major difference there is it's not allowing you to do all the things post recording that you can do through webinar, WebinarJam. So, one of my questions that I have for you, you had brought up that, man, this would be great to be able to, record anything. Shit, we can, here's a module on this, here's a module on that, which is great. Okay. The issue becomes when you start going to different screens to show other things. With WebinarJam, it has to be done from the editing function, meaning you talked about adding a video. All right. So if I was trying to record this on my own and I wanted to go out and add a video and all that kind of stuff, it would be basically a train wreck. I mean, you could do it, and you would have to, you would have a whole lot more work on your end to be able to edit and all that. Because say we're recording it, and I tell the audience, or maybe I'm making a recording on how to do expense reports or whatever, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're going to go see this video real quick. So what happens is I get out of PowerPoint. It's going to go to the tunnel. Now I have to go and find the video, and then I play the video. It's going to go back out of the tunnel, and it's just going to show what's being recorded on my screen. Whereas, like, GoToMeeting, that's what I like about GoToMeeting, because I don't have to worry about the post production side of things, because it doesn't need to be edited. It does, nothing. It's just, hey, record it, and I can share it. There, it's recording what I'm physically doing on my computer. So, like, if I did a recording on, hey, this is the structure of Dropbox, it would physically record me clicking through my file manager and all of that. It's recording all the steps. I can hear the audio. WebinarJam, you can't. And here's the reasons why. The minute I get out of my screen share and I go to do something else, what's it doing? It's rebroadcasting the broadcast, and it just automatically goes to the tunnel, and you can't see me clicking on, oh, well, I want to go to Dropbox here and sales and marketing, and click, 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 because it can't it can't record that function. And it only allows us, when I go to screen share and I go to application window, it only allows me to pick one application. So like here, I'm going to pick this. Now, eventually, what you're going to see is my file manager application on my computer. Okay. Now, when I close this out and I go to PowerPoint, you don't see PowerPoint. You still only see the application, my file manager application, because it only allows you to give permission to one application at a time. So, exactly it. But I don't want to, on my side, I don't want to share the tab. I want to share my screen. But again, because you're physically broadcasting live, where like a GoToMeeting, you're not broadcasting live. You're just recording, and it automatically creates this recording file. So I look at this tool, 100%. This needs to be used for what? PowerPoints or a slideshow. That's the purpose of this. Whereas like a GoToMeeting, at least for me, that's for, hey, I want to create a whole bunch of training modules for the staff on, how do we use our checklist? All right, guys, today we're going to go through phase 1. Here's where you find the checklist. Here's the link. It's recording everything that happens on my screen because it's not broadcasting out, where this is physically it's like you said, it's live. It is live. And the minute you get out of that application or you get out of that screen, you either get the tunnel vision or you can't go to something else. You'd have to go to, all right, I got to stop sharing. I got to pick the other application, all that type of stuff. So I know it's a little long for me. Now I really, really kind of understand what's going on. Tunnel vision, I don't care. I go to my PowerPoint. I go to see, because now you're watching me on my PowerPoint. You see the application. I pick my slide. I go into my slideshow. Now what do you see? My slide. That's it. Mm-hmm. And there you go. And now I would, if I'm recording this, which, like tonight, I'll probably record this. On your end, you're going to hear me setting it all up, and then I'm going to do a long pause right here. And then I'm going to go into it, and you're going to see this, and it's just going to be boom, boom, boom. Here's my slideshow. When I'm done, long pause. I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to go to here. Of course, it's going to do the tunnel again, but we don't care. And then I'm going to end call. Done. Recording's done. So I'm very comfortable now with what we have going on, and we don't have to be concerned about, well, what are you using to create it? It doesn't matter, as long as we understand how it works. You're going to use it differently than Kurt's going to use it, and I'm going to use it. Because, unfortunately, we're not a corporation where the corporation mandates, okay, I don't care how good this crap is, you're going to use this, and you're going to have this type of computer and all that. Hey, that's all great. That's not the world we live in. So we have these tools. We have to figure out, okay, how can we use them across the board. You know, if say Rick Bell wants to use it in South Dakota, we got to get it so that he can do exactly what we're doing here. Now, here's the beauty of all this, Carrie. I'm finally getting to the end. I can physically create a video through GoToMeeting that shows exactly what you and I just did watching it through WebinarJam. So, you know, I could walk through all these steps and record all of it, and it's recording everything that's going on. And then when you save GoToMeeting, it asks you, what kind of format do you want it in? You know, is it a WAV file? Is it an MP3? All that type of stuff. And then you just pick on whatever one is going to be easily shared throughout, you know, because you're using Apple, you're going to want to prefer something that's like an MP3 or an MP4 versus a Microsoft-based software that you can't convert. You know, it's like, hey, that's great, Scott, but I can't read the damn thing. All right, well, and I have other software that allows me to take any file and create anything with it. I mean, I can do anything in Microsoft. I can do anything in Apple, you know, because all it is, it's a converter. They're just taking the signal and converting it into another format. So, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yep. GoToWebinar, yep. Mm-hmm. That's right. Now, is that that's separate from WebinarJam then, correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Perfect. So that's identical to GoToMeeting. The only difference is GoToMeeting, it's a platform, so you got to be logged on and all that type of stuff. What you're describing is something that's local. You know, basically you set it up and you say, okay, start recording, and it's going to record everything that's going on physically on your screen. Yeah. And what's that software called? Screen share. And I'm sure they got a Microsoft version. Oh, screen flow. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I use the GoToMeeting because it's free. You know, if we didn't have that access through Core, well, then I'd be searching for, like you said, a ScreenFlow. And actually, I'll probably go out and buy the ScreenFlow in a Microsoft version because, you know, although, excuse me, although setting up GoToMeeting is, you know, freaking easy as hell, you can't do it offline. You know, I can't like, all right, I'm at McDonald's with no internet access and I want to record something, you know. So, right. Ah, got it. Yeah, because eventually, I mean, ultimately, the way it should work, and here I'm going to turn on my screen so you know, in our, you know, we have this training right here. You know, this is all internal stuff, but eventually, if I go to EAG training webinars, what it should be is I pick a link and it just goes to, like you said, hey, we got our own YouTube. It just goes to the YouTube and it plays it. because like all these that we recorded before, it's a .wrf or other extensions. Now I always have to be concerned with, okay, what do you have on your computer to watch it? Here, at least an MP4, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, anybody can use it. But then, some of the other ones that we did are in a WRF. Well, to do it, so when you launch it, it's going to say, ooh, I didn't find the software. Now I got to go out on the internet, all that kind of stuff. And those are just things that eventually we don't want anybody to do. I want to say, hey, here's where we keep our training. Click on a link and it takes you to our quote training YouTube site. And there you go. There's your videos. And you watch it. I mean, that's always been my encouraged vision is that from a I don't want to call it a franchise, but like from a licensing thing, say Rick Bell doesn't know who we are and he decides that, well, I want to be EAG of South Dakota. All right, here you go. Here's all your training modules. Go out and watch them all. And you physically just go through and you watch every single one of them, and it talks about the company and it shows the checklist and how do you do pricing sheets, and you would create one for everything we do. Just like what you're talking about. Hey, I want to create one for every type of customer or every vertical. All right, let's do it. Have at it. And it becomes this library of videos. And then you meet somebody out on a customer call, and he's a nonprofit. All right, well, I'm going to send you a link to PACE for nonprofits. And it talks about how PACE works for nonprofits. And then maybe the second half of it is, are you interested? All right, click here. And then it goes to a download of our pre-project assessment list of things that we need. It becomes just seamless when we interface with a customer, and the perfect model is, I don't want to see the customer. I don't want to go to his place. I want him to go and see our stuff, download that file, put it all together, send it to us. And the model that we're going after is like the new Amador. All that was done before we ever physically met Maru or saw the building. It can be done. There's no doubt. We're seeing that it can be done. It's the questions that you ask up front, and then it's tailoring the modules to that vertical. We'll never be able to do them all. Don't even think we could. But you start someplace and you start big. All right, CRE. That's broad. That's huge. But now you go from CRE to, all right, I have a commercial building. I pay for all the heat and the tenants only pay for electric. Oh, okay. Well, I want you to go to this module right here, and that's going to address those types of things and how that's going to be handled. All right. Now I got a commercial property owner. It's a triple net lease. Client pays for everything. All right. Click this module over here. It's going to walk you through the steps in regards to that. Boom, boom, boom. And that's how it'll work. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so the vision here is it'll be just like we did, excuse me, with the first webcast, where they get the link, they go on, they sign up for it and schedule it because we want to collect that data. And then rather than having a video on the right-hand side there that we've done before, it's just going to be a little written script. So I've been working on that script with Paul, so that we have a consistent message that he's sending out internally. And then when they go to the link and they open it up on the right-hand side of the screen when they're filling in their stuff, it's going to be the same message. Because originally, go ahead. I'm ready to roll. I'll probably record it tonight. Well, I'll record it over the weekend. I'm not sure if I'll record it tonight, but I'm ready. I mean, this is what I've been working on till 3 o'clock in the morning for the last few nights. But like last night, this is what I finished based on. So I'm going to do this a little bit different. So let's just pretend that Scott's getting ready to do his thing. I don't know if he had well, I was going to say, I don't know if you had a chance to read that email that I sent to you and Kurt last night about, developing presentation and webcasts and stuff like that. But, yeah. So, a lot of what I have been learning about, because I think this is a strength of ours, is, one, how can we do a presentation that leaves a lasting impression? And two, how can we present it from a audio standpoint? Same thing, clear, concise, leaves a lasting impression. So typically most people want to start this way. This is how they want to start. Go to the screen. Hi, welcome to our webcast, yada, yada, yada. Okay. No, that doesn't leave a lasting impression. What leaves a lasting impression is message that we want them to send, or that I want to send, and that they take away. So they talk about what is the one memorable moment? What is that? What's that clear, concise message that you're trying to send? Well, what I'm trying to send, look, everybody's been doing it this way for a long damn time. There's got to be a different way. Because everybody else that's watching it, they're all saying the same thing. No shit. We can't get projects done. This is just crazy. We got great technologies out there, but nobody can do it. So this is how I'm going to start my presentation. %98 of all energy efficiency projects are not approved. Yet, we have close to 6 million buildings in the U.S. that have an average age of 50 years old. And inside of those buildings, we still have 30-year-old technology. Yet, the technology that we need, the more efficient technology that we need, exists. So what is it that we need to do to move forward with adopting these technologies? Because they continually get denied. What we're looking for is a change in our approach to these projects. Hello, everyone. This is Scott Ringlein. I'm the president and founding partner of the Energy Alliance Group of North America, and we are a project developer for energy efficiency and cost recovery projects. I'm going to be your host today for the webcast. So what brings us together? OHM and the Energy Alliance Group of North America have been collaborating on some mutual projects over the last couple of months. And the first project that we're going to be working on together is for the University of Michigan. It's for the Intercooperative Housing, which is a nonprofit organization for housing students. And it's a project that's going to be funded with a new and unique program called PACE. This funding will be used for all of the energy efficiency upgrades that we're going to be working on. And OHM had expressed interest in learning more about PACE. So today we're going to be talking about PACE, the project itself, give you an introduction of the Energy Alliance Group, and then in the end, we'll give a case study in regards to a project that is already using PACE and how that's working out. Now, before we get started, the presentation is going to be about 45 minutes. You will be able to ask questions during the webcast, but they will be answered outside of this broadcast. So we encourage you to ask questions, and most certainly we'll have follow-up. On the last slide, there will be contact information for myself, our company, and our Vice President of Sales and Marketing. And then you will also be offered the opportunity to download a copy of this presentation, but more importantly, a publication that we created for OHM on PACE and its benefits to your clients. What we would like to do is make sure that you have a better understanding of us as an organization working with OHM and a better understanding of this new financing tool. It's allowing companies to finally move forward with adopting the energy efficiency improvements that they've wanted for so long. The Energy Alliance Group of North America is supported by two divisions, the Energy Alliance Group of Michigan and the Energy Alliance Group of Ohio. We have been around since 2012, and we've done projects from Texas to the UP in Michigan. What makes us a little unique compared to a lot of others out there is our approach to projects. We're technology agnostic, and we focus on solutions rather than a technology. And our approach includes technologies, financing, incentives, and services. What we see out in industry is that our clients are looking for someone to come in and help them with everything rather than just selling them one thing and then they're responsible for figuring out how to use it or how to pay for it. Another program that we're quite proud of is our Kilowatts for a Cause and Kilowatts for a Cure program. These are charity-based solar programs which are just being launched as we speak. So let's talk about one of the projects that the Energy Alliance Group and OHM are working on. As I mentioned, it's for the University of Michigan Intercooperative Council. They have a lot of focus on sustainability, and we have been retained to assist them with sustainability improvement projects throughout the portfolio of facilities that they own. The Intercoop, or the ICC, is a nonprofit that was founded in 1934. It's student-owned and operated housing. So there's a board, decisions are made by the students, but yet there's an administration staff that actually handle the day-to-day operations. And they currently own 20 facilities around the University of Michigan campus and Ann Arbor. And it's a wide variety of housing units from a apartment-based that houses 200 plus students to house-based that is housing maybe a half dozen students. In 2015, the Energy Alliance Group was retained by the ICC to start looking at how they can improve their sustainability through energy efficiency improvements and looking at renewable energy sources. Our primary goal then is to develop some energy efficiency and cost recovery solutions for their facilities. So we're not only looking at the technology side, but we're also looking at the operation side. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is reduce their cost. And then finally, the first project that we're working on is their largest facility. It's called Escher Hall. Escher Hall is located on the north campus of the University of Michigan, and it's the largest building there on Gilbert. It is a 3-floor suite complex, and it houses over 200 students. Within the facility, they have several commercial kitchens, recreation areas, so they have an exercise room, study rooms, all sorts of different recreation rooms. And then finally, they're all set up as suites. So along with the commercial kitchens, there's also shared kitchen areas for each one of the suites and shared bath areas. Here's some of the exterior pictures of Escher Hall. Gives you an idea of its layout, the 3 floors. First floor is actually halfway underground. So the goals of the project is, one, improve the buildings. They have some buildings there that are actually historical. They still have old electrical, no insulation. So a big focus is improving the buildings and actually taking care of the envelope. Second goal is to focus on reducing their utility cost, conserving water, and somehow integrating renewables within the ICC community. We know that renewables cannot be adopted for every facility, but what we can do is put together some renewable plans for some of their facilities. The ultimate goal here is to achieve a positive savings to investment ratio. And what does that mean? That the savings incurred through their utility reductions, maintenance reductions, end-of-life replacement reductions, and the cost recovery, meaning recovering cash, those savings are going to be greater than the physical cost to engage in the projects. And then finally, and most importantly to all our clients, little or no out-of-pocket cost incurred. And in fact, our focus as an organization is to not use the client's money. Conserve capital, because capital is king. The team for the project includes, of course, OHM, ourselves. It will be financed by Pace Finance. They are based out of Texas, and they have an office in Michigan. And then finally, Levin Energy Partners and the Lean and Green Michigan PACE program. While I don't expect you to read all of these, we have a variety of technologies that we'll be looking at, and sources for these technologies will come through both the Energy Alliance Group and OHM. Financing will be driven by the Energy Alliance Group. We'll be looking at 3, quite possibly more sources, primarily PACE, Michigan Saves, which is a Michigan-based program, and solar power purchase agreements. Energy Alliance Group will be looking at the incentives that ICC will qualify for. Now, remember, they're a nonprofit, so they cannot take advantage of any federal tax credits. But what they can do is they can take advantage of local utility rebates, but also they can take advantage of the federal tax credits through power purchase agreements, whereas the provider is taking credit and they can offer a lower cost for renewables. And then finally, services, or as we call them, integrated services. And these are more of the soft cost services that can be provided along with these projects. And that includes your engineering, asset management, construction management, and so on. Excuse me. So at the beginning of this webcast, I talk about a paradigm shift. We need to get out of the rut of continually having projects go unfunded. And rather than having 98% of them go unfunded, why can't we work towards getting 98% of them funded? Well, one of the tools that we are currently using that allows companies to do this far more than they did before on the project financing side is PACE. PACE project financing, or better known as property assessed clean energy project financing. So we're going to take some time and talk a little bit about that so everyone has an understanding of how that works and how it can be used to benefit OHM's clients and ours. So first and foremost, it is a financing program that can only be used for energy efficiency, water conservation, and renewable energy projects only. The structure of it is that the financing is actually granted through a voluntary property tax assessment that's taken on by the property itself. It's non-recourse. The financing is actually secured by the property, so there's no personal guarantee that's required. Remember, you're taking on an assessment, a property tax assessment. So what is that? Well, first, it's a state law. And second, it has to be adopted locally, or we create what's called a PACE district, because locally is where property taxes are actually being collected. So how did this all come about? Well, PACE in essence has existed for a very, very long time because it's using the property tax assessment mechanism that's been used since the 1700s to do what? Public projects. Whether you're improving a sewer, putting in a new water line, or getting a millage to build a new library or operate in a library, it's the same mechanism. A source provides the financing. The payment is collected through property tax. And irregardless of who owns the property, that property tax assessment has to be paid. The benefit to the client is that the property itself is assuming the debt, not the client. And upon sale, that PACE note or that assessment is transferred with the property. So there's no payout required in the end. There's no principal that has to be paid off. The owner is only responsible for paying the assessment during ownership. It allows us to get access to long-term and fixed rate funding upwards towards 20, 25, sometimes 30 years. And again, it's repaid as a property tax. So it physically shows up on the owner's property tax bill, and it's paid twice a year along with property taxes. There is no down payment required, and it covers 100% of the project cost. So unlike traditional funding where they're looking for the owner to put a little skin in the game and they need it to be 80-20 or a 70-30 split, no money comes from the owner. And all the costs are covered. So all of your engineering cost, your management fees, legal fees, everything are covered by the funding. And as I touched on before, our goal is to set it up so that the savings is greater than the cost. And in fact, in the state of Michigan, this is part of the statute that any project greater than $250,000, it is a performance contract. And again, the savings has to be greater than the cost. What's different about this versus a traditional capital funding program is that PACE allows you to include the maintenance and end-of-life replacement cost. Now, why is that? Well, it's part of the property. We want to make sure that that property is always being improved. Now, being that these upgrades are treated as real property versus personal property, that means the property itself, the value of it, is actually increasing because we are improving the property. So this helps on the resell value of it. Because it's a property tax, it does not show up as debt. It is just an expense. So on the balance sheet for the organization, they're not showing this as a long-term liability. They're only showing it as an expense because why? Property tax is treated as an expense. It is not a liability. So without that liability, it does not affect the company's credit, nor does it affect their ability to take on future debt. The incentives that we look for, whether they're local utility or federal, PACE has no effect on our ability to take advantage of them. So no effect on incentives that come from your local utility company or any tax credits or depreciation that companies can take advantage of through federal and state taxes. Now, one thing to point out, we are not tax specialists. So when companies look at how to depreciate this capital, they need to consult their financial wizards to figure out how it should be handled, because there's advantages and disadvantages of doing that. So where is PACE? Well, it originated in California in 2009. It actually launched in the residential market and then quickly moved into the commercial and industrial market. It's been adopted in 33 U.S. states and the District of Columbia, and it has expanded into other countries. Australia was the first, and there's a lot of interest from other countries in this type of program. And in fact, we just got recently contacted by the economic development in Barbados. So if anybody's looking for a project in the warm weather, we might be going there soon. So what projects qualify? Well, first and foremost, facility upgrades. That's a lot of what we do, but it can also be used for new construction. Now, people ask, well, how can you use it for new construction when it's an energy efficiency improvement? Well, every project has a baseline, whether that's code or local building requirements. But today, when we put a light bulb in here in Michigan, minimum would be linear fluorescent or compact fluorescent, or even a parking lot. You can actually still use metal halide. Well, most companies do not pay the extra cost for the better product or the more efficient project. So let's go back to lighting. They're not going to pay that extra cost to go to LED. Why? Because they're focused on initial expense. I want to keep my initial expenses down. Well, PACE bridges that gap. PACE will pay for that upgrade to go to LED. And how do we calculate the savings? Well, you determine how or what it's going to cost to operate with the proposed technologies, the linear fluorescent, and then what's the cost of operating the proposed energy efficiency technology. That becomes your delta. We can use it for process improvements. If a company has a process that is very utility labored, high energy cost or high water costs, and there's a new process out there that can reduce those, PACE can be used to finance that. However, a word of caution. Remember, any upgrades using PACE financing becomes real property. So if you used it for process equipment and you wanted to move or you're going to sell, to move that equipment, you have to basically pay off the note, the PACE note, for that particular piece of equipment. Now, this is not something that's used very often, but it does exist. And then finally, refinancing of prior projects. There are projects out there that have been recently, completed in the last year, and as long as they improved the facility with the latest energy efficiency, and there's a delta between what they could have used and what they did use, we can refinance that amount. So what technologies qualify for PACE financing from the energy efficiency side of things? Well, the way we look at it, if we can calculate an energy savings, most likely it'll qualify. But that's going to be different in every single state. And the advantage of PACE is it allows us to bundle technologies together. Meaning, if I'm installing a high-speed door, they're not cheap. It might take us 30 or 40 years to actually pay for that. But if I combine it with a lighting upgrade that's saving 50, 60, 70% of their utilities, we can bundle those together. The savings from the lighting offsets any loss from the high-speed doors. All right. Hey, Carrie. Are you still with me? Okay. Yeah, I gotta quit right here. I got somebody knocking on the door and the dog scratching at the door. But what do you think? How's it working? Yep, I'm gonna do that right now.